Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Padyantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badharayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshinamurti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamrita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Sunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedais Sankapadakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Dadgatena Manasam Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantanna Vidhusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So Namaste once again everyone.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste, Guruji.
Namaste. Mahi sarvani karmani sanyasyaadhyatmachetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vikatajvaraha. So in the last class we discussed how in this sloka Krishna has beautifully summed up the karma yoga in one sloka. We also saw that in this sloka, karma yoga is defined as a five-fold discipline. Therefore, a karma yogi should observe these five rules. Which we saw. What are they? Adhyatma chetasa means viveka buddhihi. Clear priority with regard to life's goals. Most of us suffer from this problem. We don't have a, what do we want to achieve in life? We don't have a clear priority. This keeps on changing. And that results in all sorts of problems for us. Then second was Sarvani Karmani Mahi Sanyasya. Basically, Ishwararpada Buddhihi. Offering all our actions to the Lord. Every act, you take it as a puja, as a offering to the Lord. Then Nirashihi, Prasada Buddhihi. Whatever you offer to the God, and in return, whatever you get, accepting all the results as God's prasada. Then fourth one was Nirmamaha, humility and appreciating the blessing of the Lord in all our successes. I have achieved. Many people say, I have done this, I have done that. That I should be replaced by God has blessed me, God has blessed me, Lord has blessed me. I have been able to get this thanks to the blessing of the Lord. Because that is what it is. Prasada buddhi, if you have, whatever you get, you will automatically attribute the credit to the Lord only. Then the last, Vigata Jwaraha, means maintenance of Samatvam. All this we saw. Now, in the next sloka, Krishna highlights the biggest benefit that people will get by following this five-point program. Okay. We will read. Ye me matamidam nityam anutishtanti manavah shraddhavanto nasuyantah muchyante te vikarmabhihi. The Anvaya of the sloka is Te api manavaha ye nityam anutishtanti me idam matam shraddhavantaha anasuyantaha muchyante karmabhihi. This is the Anvaya. We'll see the word meanings. Te api manavaha. Those people also means what? Who are those people? Those who nityam anutishtanti, who always follow. Me idam matam, this teaching of mine. Teaching means the entire 5-point program which he has taught. Because the previous sloka is only a summary. All the points he had covered earlier. Shraddhavantaha. So those who follow the teaching of mine with faith, with Shraddha, Anasuyantaha, and without being critical about them, Muchyante, they are freed, Karma bihi, from the bonds of karma. So those people who always follow this teaching of mine with faith and without being critical are freed from the bonds of karma. This is the simple meaning of this sloka. Now we'll go into the details. Now in this verse, there are this verse and the next verse, Krishna talks about the advantage of following karma yoga, and that is this verse. Next verse, he will talk about the disadvantage of not following karma yoga. So if you follow, what will happen? If you do not follow, what will happen? So in this sloka, first verse, he talks about the followers. Those who follow the karma yoga advice, teaching. Me idam matam manavaha anutishtanti. He says there are some intelligent people, some blessed people who follow this teaching of mine to the best of their capacity. We must note that. Because nowhere it is quantified how much you should do. And the capacity of every individual differs. What our approach should be, with sincerity, with commitment, to the best of our ability, to the best of our capacity, in whatever situation we are placed in our life, we must follow the Karma Yoga teaching. He does not expect, Krishna does not expect perfection from us. So he said he expects only sincere effort on our part. And therefore he says, Manavaha, some people, me idam matam. The word matam here means teaching. Matam can also be my view, my idea. But here we have to take idam matam means this teaching. So this teaching of mine, this karma yoga teaching of mine, some people follow. When do they follow? Once in a week, once in a month, or whenever they feel like? He says nityam, constantly and consistently. Because in our life, whatever we want to gain, for that, the effort has to be put in constantly and consistently. It has to be a sincere effort, purposeful effort, goal-oriented effort. Then only it will bring results. If you do all these things, Karma Yoga, once in a while I'll do Karma Yoga, once in a while I do Ashtanga Yoga and all that, then the result also will come once in a while only. There won't be a long-lasting result. So, Nityam, they follow constantly and consistently without any break. And how do they follow this teaching? Shraddhavantaha, with total faith, total trust in the efficacy of this teaching, in the validity of this teaching. And as we have seen, in Tattva Bodha and also Viveka Chudamani, also we have seen those students who are here. Shraddha is one of the qualifications required for a seeker. Shraddha in the Guru and Shraddha in the Shastra, both. And why Shraddha is required? Because the benefit of Karma Yoga, or for that matter even Jnana Yoga, is spiritual in nature. It is not a concrete measurable benefit. It is not something like, losing weight. Today you say, okay, I am 80 kilos. I want to lose 10 kilos. So you go on a weight reduction program. Then there, you measure how much you are losing in a week, in a month, etc. So there, the progress is physically measurable and quantifiable. I mean, these days I see, people have got this Fitbit or these watches and all, Apple Watch and all they wear, which shows how many steps you are walking. So some people have got these goals. Today I will walk 10,000 steps. Like that and all. So it's all measurable. Anything to do with physical body is measurable. Your blood pressure is measurable. Your sugar level is measurable. Everything is measurable. So many other, you go to a lab, they will give you 250 tests, everything measurable and quantifiable. Whereas when it comes to Karma Yoga, or for that matter Jnana Yoga, an Acharya cannot say, okay, you follow Karma Yoga for 1 month consistently and continuously, you will gain 5% Chitta Shuddhi every month. He can't say that. I can't present any concrete benefit because the benefit is a subtle benefit, not measurable. But having said that, how do we know there is a benefit? If you follow Karma Yoga consistently and continuously, you will yourself know that you are benefiting. That is the beauty of it. Because spiritual benefit is not for telling everybody, not for advertising, not for canvassing. Physical benefit, you can say, oh, yes, you see, I did all these things. Went to the gym, did swimming, cycling, blah, blah, blah. I've been able to reduce my weight. Such a thing you cannot say in respect of what is a subtle benefit, which is what Chitta Shuddhi. But as I said, the more Chitta Shuddhi you are gaining, you will realize that all these impurities in your mind, in your Chittam, Raga, Dvesha, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Ahankara, all these things you will yourself realize is reducing. There is lot more peace of mind you have now than what it was earlier. So this benefit is for you and you can actually experience that benefit. And when we are talking about Karma Yoga, if it is a Sakama Karma, the invisible benefit is Adrishta Punyam. That also one cannot show. If it is Nishkama Karma, I cannot show the purification of the mind. I can only say, you practice and see for yourself. And therefore, what is most important is faith in the efficacy of the teaching. Shraddhavantaha. Then he says, Anasuyantaha, without asuyaha. Asuyaha, in Vedantic context or even in the Dharma Shastra context, means criticizing mentality. All the time looking for mistakes of others. Pujya Swamiji used to say, a proofreader's mind. Because it is the job of a proofreader to look for and find out mistakes in the print. For a proofreader, finding that mistake is a virtue. And this tendency, of course, is there in most of us. We are very good at finding out the mistakes of others. In fact, most battles between the spouses at home are because of this proofreader's mentality on the part of both of them. If the husband does some mistake, wife will be waiting to point out. Then afterward, the same mistake the wife will do, the husband will say, that day I did it and you pointed out and today you are yourself doing it. Then what happens? The fight begins. These things, this proofreader's mentality, this pointing out mistakes and all that, complaining, does not help in life. So Krishna says, especially with regard to scriptures, we should never have that attitude of criticizing. Because if we have such a criticizing mind, then what we will do, we will reject the scriptures. And by rejecting the scriptures are not going to lose anything. Our rishis, Mahatmas who have given these scriptures, they are also not going to lose anything. Even Bhagawad is also not going to lose anything. If we are critical, if we reject the scriptures, if we refuse to be guided by the scriptures, the only person who is going to lose is ourselves. Only we are going to suffer. Therefore, we should resist the temptation to be proofreaders, not only with respect to the scriptures, but in our day-to-day transaction with others also. But many times when we read the scriptures, we may find that there is some defect. So, it's very natural rather. If the more scholarly you are, the more defects you will find. Suppose I find some defect in Gita. What should I do? Should I blindly accept that, Gita I should not criticize? Gita I should not find fault because it is Bhagavan's teaching? Then immediately another part of my mind will say, what are you talking? Huh? You are a rational person, an intelligent person. Should you have blind faith? Bhagavan is teaching, so should you be superstitious? So there is a dialogue going on in our mind. Therefore, if I see some defect in the Gita, what should I do? We can have two answers. One answer is, suppose let us assume there is a defect. One answer is, I ignore the defective part. I will take all the non-defective teaching, which is beautiful, and try to follow that. Like, digging gold from the earth. Gold does not come in pure form. It's iron ore, first we dig. It's all covered with all mud, this, everything, slush and all that. Lot of impurities. But because there is impurity, I don't throw that away, that iron ore away. What I do? I actually refine those impurities, remove those impurities through various processes. Finally, I get a few grams of pure gold, valuable gold. I value gold so much that I am prepared to discard tons of unwanted stuff and use few grams of pure gold. Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a mantra. It's a part of one of the mantras. I'll just quote. Yanyanavadyani karmani tani sevitavyani no itarani yanyasmakam sucharitani tani tvayopasyani. What this mantra the rishis are saying here is, they are openly declaring that if there is any beautiful character features in us, in anybody, take it. Don't reject the whole person because of some defect in that person. Similarly, yourself also. If you are a very awareful person, you will know your own defects. Don't ponder over those defects always and develop some sort of an inferiority complex. Understand everything in nature, nothing is perfect. Everything has got defects. That's nature. Take the good and ignore the unwanted stuff. Similarly, why can't you take the wonderful features of the scriptures? Why do you throw the baby along with the bath water? So this is the first answer. Assuming that there are defects, we must be careful. I am not meaning to say that there are defects, but for argument's sake, assuming that there are defects. Now, the second answer. If I feel that there are certain defects in the scriptures, my attitude should be that perhaps I have not understood that portion properly. The problem is not with the scriptures, the problem is with my limited intellect. So if I have sufficient Shraddha and probe into the scriptures once again, with the guidance of a Sampradaya Guru, probably my doubt will be clarified. The defects will disappear. And here the Sampradayam gets importance. Sampradayam means the teaching parampara. How a certain thing has been interpreted by Adi Shankaracharya, how other teachers who have come in the line, in the lineage, they have interpreted that. All these things will become very clear. And once we go through that, we will come to know that there is no defect in the scriptures. In fact, if you actually study the scriptures, especially Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads, etc., with the Bhashyam of Shankaracharya, he himself will raise these defects. That's the beauty of Shankaracharya's Bhashyam. He somehow reads into our mind and then he will raise these defects. What will occur in our mind, you will find it in the Bhashyam. Then he will address that, he will give an answer as to why it is not a defect. This is defects which are occurring in our mind. There are other defects also. There could be a grammatical defect there. Then there should be a defect in logic, in what the scriptures are saying. All these defects Adi Shankara will address in the Bhashya. And when we actually study the Tika or the sub-commentaries and all that, those Acharyas will further elaborate will give more examples for us to understand as to why that defect is not to be perceived as a defect. Apparently, it is a defect, but it's a mithya defect. It looks like a defect, but it is not a defect. And this attitude is called anasuya. Very, very important virtue. In fact, in 9th chapter, Krishna will talk about this. 18th chapter, Krishna talks about 4 qualifications to study the Gita. And among those 4 qualifications, he stresses this anasuya as an important qualification. Therefore, anasuyantaha, not being critical. Then he says, the one who follows the karma yoga teaching of mine, what will happen to him? Te karma bihi muchyante. They will be freed from all karmas. Karmas here means what? Punya papas, basically. And also the results of that karmas. They will be freed from all karma phalams also. In short, they will be liberated. Karma bihi muchyante means Jivan muktaha bhavanti. But we should always note, whenever the Jivan mukti or moksha is talked about in the scriptures, we must always bring to our mind and what is moksha. Moksha can be got only by jnana yoga, by only knowledge, self-knowledge, not by any other means. So karma yoga will moksha means karma yoga will give moksha through jnanam. Because karma yoga is a prerequisite. Once you get seriously into the karma yoga practice, automatically that road will lead you to jnana yoga and moksha. You cannot, once you are a serious karma yogi, you cannot go here and there. It will lead you to jnana. Because karma yoga will give us that purity, the chitta shuddhi, for us to go into the next stage. So if Krishna says karma yoga will give moksha, we have to understand that karma yoga will give chitta shuddhi, and chitta shuddhi will lead to jnana yoga, and jnanam will ultimately lead to moksha. So karma yoga will give you moksha by giving you purity, by giving you a guru, by giving you shastra, by giving an opportunity for shravana, manana, nididhyasanam. All that when you go through, jnanam will lead to liberation. That is how we must understand this muchyante sarva karma bhi, sarvani karma bhi, right? Te karma bhi muchyante. So this is how he talks about what advantages a karma yogi will get, or a person following the karma yoga teaching will get. Now in the next sloka, Krishna talks about what happens to those people who do not follow karma yoga. We will read. Te ye tve dadabhya suyantah nanutishtanti me matam sarvajnana vimudhanstan viddhi nashtana chetasah. So Anvaya is tu achetasah ye abhyasuyantah ye tat me matam na anutishtanti viddhi tan sarvajnana vibudhan nashtan. Two, but there are, let's say, because he has talked about people who follow Karma Yoga. Now he says, but there are achetasaha, indiscriminate ones. Ye abhyasuyantaha, who criticize, yetat me matam, this teaching of mine, na anutishtanti, and do not follow it. Vidhi tan, know them. As what sarvajnana vimudhan, to be completely deluded with respect of all knowledge, nashtan, and to be doomed. But there are indiscriminate ones who criticize the teaching of mine and do not follow it. Know them to be completely deluded with respect to all knowledge and to be doomed, spiritually destroyed. So, having talked about those people who follow Karma Yoga, in this verse, Krishna talks about those who refuse to follow. Etat me matam na anutishtanti. There are many people who refuse to follow this teaching. And there is a good reason. Following the teaching is difficult. Refusal to follow is easier. And when we do not follow the teaching, it means what? We are leading a life according to our own whims and fancies, an instinctive life, a happy-go-lucky life, a let-go life. Whenever I want to get up, I get up. Then I sit in the bed, take a bed coffee, ask somebody to get me the newspaper also, spend the next half an hour, 45 minutes in the bed till my bowel movements start. Then I rush to the bathroom, etc. Then whatever is to be done. Sometimes, after all this, having coffee, feel like sleeping again, especially if it happens to be Saturday, Sunday, you again go to sleep. Because these actions which we are doing, many of them involuntarily, they are all instinctive actions. As I said elsewhere also, I mean, the Shastras say, a man is born as a Shudra, Tamo Guna Pradhana. The natural state is Tamo Guna Pradhana. You don't want to do anything. You just want to sleep, rest. Don't tax your brain. Don't tax your physique. That is the natural instinct. Only get up. Like animals you observe, they will not do anything. Only hunt, eat, sleep. Hunt, eat, sleep. That's all. Only for food they will do a little bit of excess work. And that too, there are certain animals which they themselves will not do. Other animals have to hunt and bring them the food. They will sit and eat. This is called Prakrita life. Prakrita means according to natural instincts. Whereas a Karma Yoga teaches us to go by the ordains of the Shastra. Shastra Vidhi Nishedaha. It's a Samskrita life. And to follow a Samskrita life, I have to always fight against my own nature. I have to get up in the morning at 5 o'clock and take bath and do Sandhya Vandanam. Whereas I am feeling very sleepy. I have to fight against that nature. I have to force myself to get up. Therefore, following Karma Yoga is swimming against the tide. It's an uphill task. It is just like climbing a mountain, For going down the mountain, hardly any effort is required. Our weight and gravity are enough. Of course, you have to maintain your balance. Sometimes it is so steep that you may actually fall. But otherwise, there is not much effort required. That weight and gravity will take you down. But if you have to climb the mountain, you have to go against the natural gravity. And therefore, it is as they call it, uphill task, an arduous task. Therefore, what we do, we always look for some excuse or the other to avoid it. And whenever we are asked to do, especially in our culture, unlike some other cultures, where there will be one person will be talking, all others will be sitting and listening. That's all. They are also following those cultures are easy. They are all. That is why many people probably get converted there, because in our culture, the religious practices are quite challenging. Most of those religious practices are designed to enable us to shun laziness, break our tamoguna with which we were born. And that is why these practices like, get up early, then clean yourself physically, clean yourself mentally through some, puja, sandhya, vandanam, etc., are all advocated. These are all meant to convert us from a Prakrita Purusha to a Samskrita Purusha. But they are challenging and they are tough. And that's why, many people will find some excuse to avoid doing them. And if some of them have got some knowledge of Vedanta, they will misapply that knowledge. They will argue that after all, Bhagavan is Sarvavyapi, he is everywhere. Why should I get up early and go to a temple? Sitting in my bed itself, I can do meditation. All that, kind of thing. They will argue. So it's always easier to go by one's natural instincts. And such people, here Krishna describes them as achetasaha, those who lack viveka buddhi, because they are indiscriminate people. They do not have a rational faculty. They do not learn from the experience. They are unintelligent people. They don't have what will lead to what, they don't know. Priorities they don't have in life. Because when Shastra prescribes certain disciplines, you can look at it positively or negatively. Positively, you can take it as a prescription given by Shastra for our own spiritual health. It's like a doctor's prescription, In fact, if you go to a doctor with any health problem, especially when you are getting old, you are retired and all that, one advice will always be given by the doctor. Don't lead a sedentary life. Go for walks. Do some exercises. Practice yogasanas, etc. Because if you don't do all these things, the problems which you already have will multiply. But doing these things are painful things. You are sitting in a comfortable zone, in your comfort zone, before the TV in a nice sofa, with coffee, tea, etc. being served to you from time to time. You don't even need to get up to go and switch on or switch off the TV. You got a remote control in the hand. And if you are affluent, you will have few servants running around you. They will do everything. Very comfort. You are in a comfort zone. For you, getting up and walking is painful. Doing exercises more so. But then for good health, these are to be followed. And once we understand that these prescriptions are for my own benefit, doctor says your sugar level is not, under control. You must go for morning walks or evening walks. You must walk at least for 1 hour every day. You must avoid, taking any sweet, sugar, etc. and all. All these things are all going against what I like to do. But if I know that these are going to help me, going to benefit me, I will follow them unmindful of the problems or pains. And similarly, I should understand that every prescription given by the Shastra is for my own good. Adi Shankara in his Kathopanishad Bhashyam says, Shruti, the Veda, is equal to 1,000 mothers. Just as a mother will not prescribe anything which is not good for me, Shastra will never mislead me. Shastra has got no hidden agenda. That conviction must be there in me. And this is the positive way of looking. Of course, negative way of looking is very easy. If I have to follow the Shastra, I have to come out of my comfort zone. I have to lose my freedom. Shastra is restricting my freedom. I am a human being and I have got the right to choose whatever I want to choose. Therefore, I will do whatever I like. Who is Shastra to tell me? This is a negative approach. Krishna says these unintelligent people have a negative approach. Ye abhyasuyantaha, those who are critical of our Shastras and teachings. They will find fault with everything in the Shastra. Some of them, they come up with a very wonderful argument, and based upon something they pick up from some Puranas, Bhagavad Purana and all that. They will say that these Vedas and these Shastras, these Upanishads, etc. are not meant for Kali Yuga. They were written long ago. Probably they were valid when in Satyuga and probably to some extent in Treta Yuga, to some extent in Dwapara Yuga. But in Kali Yuga, they have no validity. Therefore, these teachings, including the teachings of Gita, are outdated so far as Kali Yuga is concerned. Or they will say that these are all superstitions. All the Shastra says, we are all rational people. Pagattarivu, they will say. Tamil Nadu people will know what is Pagattarivu. Some such excuse they will follow, they will find. And neither they will follow or they will prevent other people also from following the Shastras. And of course, in this, they will find support from those who are in the business of religious conversions. These conversionists will say, we were telling, now your own people are telling this, you see, and that becomes easy for them for conversion. Other religions, that is the attraction. You don't need to do anything. Once in a week, one day in a week, you have to go and attend some talk. That's all. And somebody will give you all sorts of stuff. You can't question also. You are not, if you question what is being taught, it is called blasphemy. You can't question. Just to listen, that's all. And that many of our people who are from our culture, who are bound by all these karmas and shastras and all, they find it easy. I don't need to do anything. I just go and sit there, 2 hours, 3 hours, I'll come back. That's how these conversionists, they thrive rather. Therefore, etat me matam na anutishtanti. They refuse to follow these teachings of mine. Krishna says those people are utterly deluded people. So, abhyasuyantaha na anutishtanti. And Krishna gives them the title, Sarvajnana Vimudha. Sarvajnana means all knowledge. What does he mean by that, all knowledge? Does he mean knowledge of chemistry, physics, mathematics, everything? What does he mean? In our Shastra, in our scriptures, we normally divide knowledge into 2 types. They are categorized as 2 types. One is dharma, adharma, jnana. Another is atma, anatma, jnana. One knowledge is the one which is contained in the Veda Purva Bhaga. And the other knowledge is contained in Veda Anta Bhaga. Now, why is it that this knowledge does not include all other types of knowledges which we By the word knowledge, what comes to our mind is physics, chemistry, astronomy, etc., etc. Because what the Shastra says is that for any human being, irrespective of his capacity, irrespective of his background, irrespective of his orientation, there are two important areas he requires knowledge for a good living. Because all others, some people may have, somebody may be good in mathematics but not good in history. Somebody may be very good in biology but he may not be good in engineering. So there's all individual oriented. But what is uniform for everybody is the knowledge which is contained in the Vedas. And Vedas are divided into two parts. Veda Purva Bhaga and Veda Anta Bhaga. Veda Purva Bhaga gives you the knowledge of Dharma, Dharma Jnanam. Whether you are a scientist, whether you are an astronaut, whether you are a prime minister, whether you are a clerk, whether you are even a cleaner, Dharma, Dharma Jnanam is necessary for everybody. This is Veda Purva Bhaga. Then Veda Anta Bhaga gives you Atma, Anatma Jnanam, which is necessary for moksha. So first we have to get Dharma, Dharma Jnanam, choose to lead a dharmic life, irrespective of who we are, common for all human beings. Later we have to get Atma, Anatma Jnanam for moksha. So first is called Apara Vidya. Next one is called Paravidya. And Krishna says that these people who are confused not only with regard to Atma Anatma, they are also confused with regard to Dharma Adharma. Therefore, with regard to Veda Purva Bhaga, they are confused. And also they are confused about Veda Anta Bhaga. So Vimudhan, confused people, deluded people. And Krishna wants such deluded people. He gives a stern warning. He says, Nashtan Vidhi. Vidhi means Arjuna, may you understand. Nashtan, all these people are destroyed spiritually. They are lost spiritually. They have lost one precious life, one precious opportunity to be born as a human being, which they have got. We do not know after how many lives they have got this human birth, and we do not know next human birth when they are going to get. This birth itself they got by a rare chance, but they failed to make use of it. They have destroyed themselves, not physically, of course, but spiritually. Therefore, Arjuna, you decide which category you want to be. So this is the disadvantage he points out for not following Karma Yoga. And in the next sloka, Krishna points out that everyone is predominantly guided by nature with which we are born. That is inborn. It's very difficult to change that nature. So he throws more light on the behavior of the people. And we will read the sloka. Sadrisham cheshtate swasyaha prakritirjnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kinkarishyati. The Anvaya is Jnanavan cheshtate sadrisham swasyaha prakritehe bhutani yanti prakritim kim nigraha karishyati. Jnanavan even a man of knowledge, cheshtate acts, sadrisham according to, swasyaha prakritehe to his nature, bhutani all beings, yanti go by, prakritim their nature, kim nigraha what restraint karishyati will do. So here he says even a man of knowledge acts according to his nature. all beings go by their nature, what will restraint do? Now, this sloka needs a good understanding. What is Krishna meaning by this? Krishna is pointing out that everybody is born with a particular personality, which according to Shastra is determined by threefold gunas. They are called Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna and Tamo Guna. Everybody has got these three gunas. Only what differs is the proportion, the predominance of each guna over the others. So the personality of a human being is determined by the relative proportion of these three gunas. Sattva Guna represents the knowledge faculty. Rajo Guna represents the dynamism or activity faculty. And Tamo Guna represents the opposite of the two, neither knowledge nor activity. And Tamo Guna has got the power to overpower both Sattva and Rajas. It represents inertia, both physical and intellectual inertia. That is Tamo Guna. So based on this alone, in the scriptures, the entire humanity is classified into 4 varnas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. We will discuss about it in detail in the 4th chapter. There Krishna deals with this, this Chaturvarnyam. He says Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam Gunakarma Vibhakasha. We will discuss all that there. Here it is sufficient to note that some people are predominantly withdrawn. Some people are predominantly extrovert and activity prone. And there are some others who are not good in either of them. But they are good for unskilled mechanical type of action and knowledge. And once we know our personality, the ideal thing will be to take up a pursuit or a vocation which is in keeping with our personality. Only when the personality and the profession match each other will I love what I am doing. Otherwise, there will be strain and stress. Therefore, the Shastra's first preference is we take up any action or any vocation which is in keeping with our predominant guna, whether it is Sattva Guna, Rajo Guna or Tamo Guna. And that is why we have stories that Vishwamitra became a Brahmashri, Brahma Rishi. Even though he was born a Kshatriya, he was Sattva predominant and he could become a Brahma Rishi. Whereas Drona, a Brahmana by birth, became a warrior who fought in Mahabharata war because of predominance of Rajoguna. Now Krishna says, Arjuna, it is better to go by your Prakriti, by your Swabhava. And you are born a Kshatriya. You are an embodiment of Kshatriya Guna. And Kshatriya Guna is not meant for sitting and meditating. It will be impossible for you. If that was possible, if that was your Swabhava, all the 13 years that you spent in the forest life, you would have seized the opportunity to do meditation and tapas. But what did you do? You instead started preparing in keeping with your Kshatriya Guna. You spend your time planning and preparing for this war. And the fact that you enjoyed warfare can be seen from various exploits of yours. You even went to help Indra and he loved it and he presented you with his own chariot for that. But now that you are faced with the challenge of killing your own kith and kin, you do not want to take up that bitter duty. And then he starts talking about ashrama, dhyanam, sannyasa, etc. You are trying to get out of the whole thing. And therefore, Krishna advises Arjuna that his personality is not meant for sannyasa. So you have to go according to your prakriti, and not only you, but any human being. Therefore, he says, Swasyaha prakrite sadrusham cheshtate. One acts according to one's own prakriti. And here we must say prakriti means not prakrita purusha we saw in the earlier sloka. Here prakriti means the proportion of sattva, rajas and tamas, which will vary from individual to individual. Sadrusham cheshtate, anusarena cheshtate. Go according to their relative proportion of sattva, rajas and tamas. Sadrusham cheshtate swasyaha prakrite jnanavanapi. And he says, this is true even if a person is a jnani. Even a jnani's life is governed by his prakriti. Because we see the biographies of many jnanis. Even though all are jnanis, all have the same equal knowledge, all of them uniformly know I am Brahman. Even though all the jnanis are liberated, the lifestyle they lead varies from individual to individual, isn't it? One has a tendency to withdraw from anything, go to some Uttarakashi, sit in a cave and do meditation. Another jnani comes out, establishes institutions, writes books and all those things, teaches. Now, which jnani is better? Is it that an active jnani is better or a superior and a passive jnani is inferior? The answer is no. Active or passive, a jnani is a jnani. We may have a tendency to criticize a passive jnani saying they are not contributing to society, etc. We may feel that way. But remember, their very presence is a blessing for us. Therefore, even jnani's life is governed by their own personalities. And that's why Puja Swamiji again says, beautifully says that even among gods, we find that they have different personalities. Even gods have got their own swabhava. That is how they are presented. Brahmaji is a Srishtikarta using Rajoguna. Vishnu is a Sthitikarta using Sattvaguna. Shiva is a Layakarta using Tamoguna. We have to note very carefully. When we say Tamoguna, that means not under the spell of Tamoguna, but using Tamoguna. Therefore, even gods are governed by their swabhava and actions. And that's why, even when we see the various vahanams, different types of weapons, different types of musical instruments, they are seen with, all fit into their respective swabhavas. So even gods indicate that they have a personality, physical personality and mental personality, and therefore Arjuna, Prakritim Bhutani Yanti, all beings, including animals, birds, etc., have their own nature. Cow has its own nature, a horse has its own nature, a papaya tree has its own nature, which is different from a mango tree. So here Bhutani, we should understand all living beings and not Pancha Bhutani. Okay. Of course, even if we consider Panchabhutani, we can see how different is the nature of each one. Akasha is different from Vayu, Vayu different from Agni, etc. But here the meaning we should take is living beings, all jivas, which includes humans, animals, plants, cockroaches, mosquitoes, everything have got their own nature. All of them prakritim yanti, they go according to their nature. And he says, Nigraha kim karishyati, what can restraint do? I think it's almost time, and we will continue in the next class. Okay. I'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Sishyate Om Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Guruji.
Thank you.
धन्यवाद गुरुजी.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Pranam.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Thank you, Guruji. Namaste.
Being critical,
Sorry?
Namaskaram.
being critical doesn't mean that rubbishing everything.
That
It
is
can be critical from a perspective that you are trying to find some inner meaning in it. Probably you are trying to go deep into it. Like you see, when you said proofreader, they are like auditors.
yeah.
Auditors are meant to find mistakes in accounts
Correct.
and take, that is only the preventive action and the corrective action.
See, it can be, you can be critical in a positive way.
Positive way. That's what I meant.
But then you can be critical in a negative way also.
No, negative criticism, you should throw it.
That is what it is being meant. So
You
these
should reject
people
it.
rejecting the Shastras, they look for something which is, which they can point out in a negative way. Okay, these are all useless. These are superstitions. So I won't follow them. That is what is being, because even a person who finds a mistake or some defect in the Shastras, and he criticizes that Shastra, that this is, this mistake is there. If his criticism is positive, he will try to find out the solution for that. Why is the Shastra presenting it in this manner? He himself, his own limited intellect may not be able to give answer to that question. So whether it is a positive criticism or a negative criticism will depend upon what is the follow-up that you are going to do for that criticism. Criticism remaining the same, whether you are going to further research into it and try to find out whether it is really a defect or not, or using that as an excuse, you are rejecting the whole thing. This is the difference. That is
like
what
you see, a person with a critical mind, from Bhagavad Gita itself, probably he can analyze things from a different perspective.
Yes, certainly. But as long as it is what I would say spiritually enhancing.
Spiritually enhancing. That's correct.
His interpretation should be spiritually enhancing and not, you see, I mean, of course, again, if we have to look at the criticism, there are many people who use the Bhagavad Gita teachings as some management lessons, for management lessons. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
You will find they will quote Bhagavad Gita saying this and all that management. That is actually widening the sphere of Bhagavad Gita from spirituality to materialistic living rather. Which is not a criticism at all. I mean, which is accepting Bhagavad Gita's valuable contribution, valuable teaching and extending its scope to areas which initially is not meant. Bhagavad Gita is not meant for that, right? It's a moksha shastra.
Correct.
It's for liberation, not for making more money for your management. But that does not go against the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So that cannot be taken as a negative approach rather. But we have seen there are people who reject the Shastra for this reason, I mean, they are either they have got some ulterior motive and they use this as an excuse and all that. That is why criticism per se is not wrong, but on what basis and why are you criticizing becomes important rather.
Important. Correct. Yeah. Thank you, Guruji. Okay. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Yes, Hariji, what is your question?
Hari Om. Guruji, can you explain a little more about the various gods? They are coming with different natures, like you were telling about Shiva, Lord Shiva with Tamas, and Lord Vishnu with Satvik.
See, that aspect I can explain because
Yeah.
creation is a action,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
For which Rajoguna is important. Because Rajoguna means dynamism, activity.
Yeah.
Without activity, without Rajoguna, creation cannot be there. But when the creation has to be sustained, once created, it has to be sustained. With dharma, adharma, and all being established. That requires sattva guna. Sattva basically means keeping what is existing healthy and functional. Sattva guna. Destruction, laya, is tamoguna. Because when we are talking about sattva, rajas, and tamo, we have to, there are various dimensions to these gunas. We must not take one dimension only and apply it rather. In fact, you are not in Tattva Bodha, so how these three gunas actually act in terms of at the macro level and the micro level also in the entire creation is explained in Tattva Bodha. So that is why, Vishnu is Sattva Guna and for sustenance, sustaining this entire creation. And that is why Brahmaji does not say Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Shiva does not say Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. It is only Krishna who is Vishnu's avatara. He says Sambhavami Yuge Yuge because he has to make sure that the adharma is removed so that dharma prevails. Now what happens is, as long as the dharmic life is going on, there is this adharma also starts growing. One point in time, adharma overtakes dharma. And the dharmic people are put into trouble. And that is why Vishnu takes, avatara again and again to bring the balance. Because by bringing the balance, removing adharma, vinashaya cha dushkritam only, sadhunam can be paritranaya sadhunam. So that sustenance action is only sattva guna, which is there with Vishnu. And of course, as you say, you want to understand about gods and all that. See, I quoted Puja Swamiji, right?
Yeah.
I have to do a lot more study if I have to go into what Saraswati means, what Shiva means, what, all that I will have to do. And I personally feel that topic is more entertaining but irrelevant for Vedanta teaching. You are not going to achieve anything by knowing what God has got, what guna he has got, what this God has got guna and all that. What you have to see is what is the guna, predominant guna in me. If I have got a predominant tamo guna, which I have inherited from my past births because of my vasanas which I have carried over from past birth, that gunas are not in a watertight compartment. I can still make some change. I can, if I'm tamo guna predominant, I can convert myself into rajoguna by following the shastra. By Veda Purva Bhaga, if I follow, my tamo guna will be converted into rajoguna, more of rajoguna, less of tamo guna. When I come to Veda Anta Bhaga, I can convert my rajoguna into sattva guna. So all that Krishna will talk about what are the characteristics of these gunas, how I can convert from rajoguna to sattva guna, and all that we will see in later chapters rather. So that is what is relevant for us. Not whether the God has got tamo guna or which God has got rajo guna. That is not important for our purpose.
Okay.
Okay, I will not be able to give you anything more than that.
No. That is fine.
Yeah.
I asked you this specific question because something suddenly struck me that these three Trinity, the
Yeah,
Mahavishnu, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. These are all not separate entities, but it is the different three aspects of the same entity.
yes, three aspects of the same
The
entity.
same entity, then it becomes
Yeah.
more. How do I say, the more not exactly logical. There is no logic here, but it appears to be more
Appealing or reasonable.
yeah, for me it is more appealing because there is only one power, but even for that power there are three different aspects.
Correct. That is.
So I was trying to analyze from that angle.
Okay. Thank you.
Not criticism.
No. I know that. Anjali ji.
Yeah, Namaste Guruji.
Same.
Guruji, with respect to Vedas, they are categorized in two parts, you said. One is Purva, Veda Purva and Veda Anta. I just remember two terms, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Is it the same thing or different?
No. Purva Mimamsa means analysis of what is contained in the Purva Bhaga. Mimamsa basically means analysis. Right? So that is, and Vedanta is, Uttara Mimamsa is again analysis of what is contained in Upanishads.
Achha.
So Mimamsa basically means analysis, right? That's all. So whenever we are calling out Purva Mimamsa, one is the mantras themselves, another is analysis of those mantras.
Achha.
That is what it is. The subject
Okay.
is the same. When we say
Okay.
Mimamsa, it is analysis.
Okay. Yeah, I have got one more question. I'm not sure I should ask right now or I should wait till that verse comes. But something I remembered. This out of the three gunas, Krishna is telling Arjuna that right now he should be holding Rajoguna. He is not mean for the sannyasa. Tasmat Yuddhasva Bharata. So far he is telling Tasmat Yuddhasva Bharata. In the next, one popular verse is there. That's why I am able to recall that later, I think it is in 6th chapter or so, he says Tasmat Yogi Bhavarjuna. So that is with what context can we?
Karma Yogi Bhava.
Tasmat Yogi Bhavarjuna.
The Tasmat, therefore, because in the next chapters and all, he will tell everything, up to even how the Ashtanga Yoga and all, how he should actually do this yoga and all. And he will say Tasmat Karma Yogi Bhava. So you,
Karma
in
Yoga.
the end, because first 6 chapters is all about
Karma Yoga.
making Arjuna go and fight.
Yeah.
Not allowing Arjuna to leave the battlefield and go away to take sannyasa or anything, right? We'll see all that in detail rather. Okay.
Okay.
It's a very nice progress. I mean, the teaching is very nicely, it goes. So we'll see all that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other
Hariom,
questions?
Guruji.
Thank you.
I have probably a basic question about this chapter. So the goal of this chapter seems to be to avoid the karma, bondage, karma bondage, right?
No. This
Karma bandham.
No. Karma bandham.
Karma bandhanam, I think, right?
Yeah, karma bandhana muchyate, he says, what is the benefit you will get by this chapter is on karma yoga.
Yes.
The whole chapter is a karma yoga chapter. What is karma yoga? How to do karma yoga? And what are the components of karma yoga? All that he has explained. Now while talking about the advantages of karma yoga, he says, If you follow this teaching, this karma yoga, then you will be relieved of all the karmas and results, right?
So
But
you would not get the so-called for the next janma. You would not be carrying
Exactly.
baggage of. Okay.
Exactly. But that does not mean that karma yoga will give you that. It means karma yoga has got a it is just like example. We tell our children, when they are in the +2 stage, you study well, get very good marks, you can become an IAS officer, you can become that, you can become this and all that.
Character.
Does it mean that by getting 100% marks in the 12th standard, they will become IAS officers directly? No. They have to do a lot more things after that. But we tell the children that you do this, you will reach very high in your life and all that. Every child is told by the parents this, right?
Yes.
Every child whose parents are interested in the child studying, right? Similarly, here Krishna says karma yoga will give you moksha. That does not mean that you do karma yoga, you will get moksha. Does not mean directly. Indirectly, it will lead to a situation where you will go into jnana yoga, where you will get the knowledge, study the Upanishads and all that. Then you will get moksha. That is how we have to understand it, rather. Okay.
Okay.
So the chapter
Okay.
is on karma yoga, not on jnana yoga, not on moksha.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you, Hariyo. Sulekha ji, your doubt.
Namaste, Guruji.
Say.
My question is regarding samatvam and the three gunas, and also trying to understand that the gunas, are the gunas hierarchical? You talked about tamoguna as we all start in life, instinctual and not a lot of activity, then going into dynamism, and then from there the sattva guna. But am I correct in understanding that we have all three gunas, and whenever one guna predominates, that particular guna is what is required for a situation? What
Yes.
I'm saying is, the samatvam is not necessarily, I'm trying to understand that it's not necessarily sattva guna to be reached all the time, but the situation that is in front of us will require a particular guna to predominate. And if we are able to understand and follow within that guna, then we can adhere to or maintain samatvam in that situation. Is that correct? Am I explaining myself?
You are probably mixing up two things. Samatvam is a different aspect, right? Samatvam is an attitude of equanimity, equality. I mean, looking everything as the same. Samatvam is a totally different thing. Whereas the three gunas, the components of gunas are concerned, everybody has to have three gunas. If you don't have tamo guna, you will never sleep. Tamo guna for sleep, for inertia, for taking rest, tamo guna is essential. Without that, the person will collapse rather. Okay. Similarly, if you want to eat, even if you want to walk and go and to do brush your teeth and eat your food with your hand and things like that, and cook the food and all, earn money for that, Rajoguna is necessary. Without Rajoguna, you will just be, if Tamoguna is predominant whole day, you will be sleeping only. You won't cook food, do nothing. So Rajoguna is necessary for that. Then Sattva Guna is the one which aids spiritual progress, spiritual thinking, spiritual inclination, all that. So what is happening is the entire structure of the Vedas, the scheme of the Vedas is, takes it that a person is born with tamoguna. Up to the age of 5 years, 6 years, tamoguna predominant. That is why those children, they do whatever they want to do. They will sleep whenever they want. They will eat whenever they want. They will even, in the bed itself, they will do everything and all that rather. Tamoguna pradhan. But if you leave them like that, they will continue to be like that even when they are 50 years old, not 5 years old. Therefore, Shastra puts them into a scheme, a system, making them wake up early. And that is the starting of this Upanayanam ceremony which we have got. That is a ritual performed in order to impress upon the child the importance of doing these things. So Upanayanam is performed, the child is sent to the Gurukulam in olden days. Today we send the child to the school, right? So the child gets into Rajoguna from Tamoguna. At that time, spirituality, nothing child will understand. But then in our culture, what we also do is we introduce the child to small stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata. We have got a small altar at our home where we light the lamp and we tell the child before going to school, after taking bath, do one namaskara and go and all that. Little bit of sattva, that is sattva aspects we introduce. But predominantly Rajoguna prevails at that stage. Then once you have actually grown, because Tamoguna is there, whenever you want to sleep, whether it is afternoon or night, Tamoguna is necessary. Then Rajoguna is the predominant for a fairly good part of our life. When we go to school, go to college, go for work, do all our work, Rajoguna is predominant. Once you have got over that, you have all materialistic, dharmartha kama are fulfilled to a large extent, then you go towards sattva guna. That is, increase the sattva guna component in your living. And once you increase in this life, suppose you end this life with sattva guna predominance. Right? You have been able to do that and do all things which have increased your sattva guna. You have been very religious, spiritually, grown, but you have not reached the moksha stage still, but sattva guna predominant you have reached. Next birth, you will be having the samskara of sattva guna. When you are born, you will be born with sattva guna predominance. And that is what Krishna says, prakritehe. So whichever your own nature, your swabhava, will be determined by which guna you are predominant in. And that is why we see that actually happening also, isn't it, amongst our friends, amongst our relatives, within the same family. One person is very pious, very, what I would say, very religious, spiritually inclined, whereas his own sibling, brother, or somebody may be wasting away his time, smoking, drinking, attending parties, doing all those kind of things. So, we can see these differences in people in terms of their natural swabhava, natural orientation. And that is what Krishna is bringing out here. He is trying to convince Arjuna that your natural orientation is, as of now, Rajoguna. If you want to grow to Sattva Guna, you have to do a lot of things. One starting point is this Karma Yoga. You have to start with Karma Yoga. And for Karma Yoga, you have to fight this war. You are talking about taking sannyasa. You cannot take sannyasa straight away. It is not some double promotion you are going to get. You have to go through this route. That is what he is trying to impress upon Arjuna. Is that clear? Have I answered your question?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Hari Om. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Thank you all. Any more questions? Otherwise, I can close the session because my battery also running low in my laptop. Okay, I will close the session. Put the laptop to recharge. Okay. Hari Om. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Om.
Guruji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.